Over to another week, I'll be on Spiritual Ministries. It's an honor to be with you the first Sunday in October. Happy Communion Sunday. Hope you enjoyed last week's message as much as I did in preaching and in teaching. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Pompey Lee. And Instagram at Humble Pompey and Facebook and Twitter at Pompey Lee. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kingship 1988. Let's open up with a word of prayer. Dear Father, thank you, Father, for the opportunity, Father, that you gave me, Father, to the words to those who are listening, Father. Father, allow them, Father, to be encouraged, Father, not to be discouraged, Father. Allow them, Father, to be lifted up, Father, not to be brought down. Allow them to hear you, not to hear me, and to see you, not to see you. Father, allow the Holy Spirit to do as He sees fit. Father, we bind you, mind and force. It should not prevail, but that your word should stand strong. In Jesus Christ's name, Father, we pray. Amen. This week, we come for the topic of the job is not done. The job is not done. The job is not done. We all are here for a reason. We all are in this world. We have a purpose. We're not here just to live and just to struggle and just to stress and just to go through problems. God created each and every one of us for a reason. He placed us down here to do something. Whether you're a believer or a non-believer, you have a purpose of being here. And like in all other religions, they don't teach you that you have a purpose, but in Christianity, it teaches you that you have a reason for being here. And it was so ironic is that we all have different jobs, yet our jobs connect to someone else's job. That's why Paul says to the Corinthian church that we are one body in Christ with many different members, many different parts. Because we all are connected in some kind of way. So Paul says to them, how can the eye say to the foot, we have need of you? You know, how can one member say, we don't need that? He says, in fact, can the whole body be your whole eye? Then where would the smell be at? So we all have a reason for being here. We all have some type of purpose, some type of calling on our life for being here. And at times when we are in this world and at times as we are walking in our purpose, we want to give up. We want to walk away because it becomes too stressful. It becomes too tiring. And at times, this is a human flaw right here. This is a human and natural human occurrence. We want to walk away and give up because of the stress that's going on. Okay? Now understand that at times, many of us want to walk away. Want to walk away from the ministry, want to walk away from the job, want to walk away from the marriage, want to walk away from a relationship, or want to walk away from the business that we created, want to walk away because of the trials and the tribulations. And God understands that. He understands that we as humans, we feel a certain kind of way. But we must understand that even though we feel this way, that the job is not done. Okay? If we turn to Philippians, we're going to look at Paul. He's talking to the Philippian church. Philippians chapter 1, verse 20 through 26. He says, according to my earnest expectations and the hope that in nothing I should be ashamed, but with all boldness as always, so now also Christ will be magnified in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. But if I live on in the flesh, this will mean fruit from my labor. Yet what I shall choose, I cannot tell. For I am hard pressed between the two, having a desire to depart and be with Christ, which is far better. Nevertheless, to remain in the flesh is more needful for you. And being confident of this, I know that I shall remain and continue with you all for your progress and joy of faith, that your rejoicing for me may be more abundant in Jesus Christ by my coming to you again. Now understand that Paul has a calling on his life. And we can see this in the book of Acts. If you turn to Acts chapter 9, Paul has a calling on his life like many of us. Acts chapter 9, verse 15 to 16 says this, but the Lord said to him, go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before the Gentiles, kings and the children of Israel, for I will show him how many things he must suffer for my name's sake. Again, we see Paul's calling in Galatians chapter 1, verse 16, verse 15 to 17. And it says this, but when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me through his grace to reveal his son to me that I might preach him among the Gentiles. I did not immediately confer with flesh and blood, nor did I go up to Jerusalem to those who were apostles before me, but I went to Arabia and returned again unto Damascus. Now Paul had a calling on his life. Okay? Like many of us had a calling. God met Paul on the road to Damascus, and on the road to Damascus, God intervened on Paul. And after speaking with him, Paul became blind for 3 days. And in those 3 days, he was praying and he was fasting. He didn't eat nothing, he didn't drink nothing because he wanted to know what was going on. After having a revelation with God, he wanted to see what was going on. So while he was fasting, while he was praying, in the same city, there was a man named Ananias. And God said unto Ananias, there's a man of Saul of Tarsus, and he is praying, and he sees a man walking up, praying for him. I want you to go to him, and I want you to heal him, and I want you to tell him the things that I'm telling you. And Ananias said, hold on, Lord, is this not the one called Saul? The one who was here to prosecute the church? The one who was here to kill us? And you want me to go save him? Why should he basically get grace? And God says, hold on, I want you to tell him. Tell Paul this, that for my name's sake, he will suffer great things. Why? Because he is a chosen vessel. You must understand that you are a chosen vessel. You know what that means? That God chose you out of all the sperm cells. God chose you to attach to your mother's egg. God chose you out of all of that came. Peter says, in fact, that you are a peculiar people. You are a royal priesthood. You are a chosen people. You are the apple of God's eye. And understand that God has chosen you for this. Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I set you aside. You were my first choice. You were the first one I thought of when I saw this. So he says, tell Paul that he is a chosen vessel, that he shall suffer great things for my name's sake. Again, Paul begins to talk to the Galatian church. He says, listen, God called me from my mother's womb and separated me through the grace to reveal his son in me. He told me to go to the Gentiles and to preach the gospel of Christ. He said, I didn't need confirmation. God has chosen me just as he has chosen you. So Paul had a calling, and Paul understood that in his calling that he would suffer some great things. He constantly writes to the churches, the ones that he founded. Now he begins to talk to the Philippians. He begins to write them a letter. Now understand that Paul is in prison at this time, and this is one of 4 books where he writes into someone while he's in prison. First he writes to the Colossians, then he writes to Ephesus, then he writes to Philemon. He begins to write them. But this book of Philippians is so unusual, many theologians say, for the reason is that Paul does not write to them to correct them about doctrinal matters. Now, even though Paul begins to speak to them about false teachers are coming among them, he never writes to them to correct their doctrine. Instead, he writes to them to thank them. To thank them for being there in his toughest time, because they supported him through his time being in prison. They was always there for me. He says, I want to thank you, for without you, I don't think I can make it through this. Those who support you and those who are there for you, you need to thank them. Because God will place people in your life who will support you in your lowest level in your life, your lowest point where it seems to be no way out. So Paul begins to thank them in that letter. And then this is crazy, because as he's thanking them, he begins to speak to them. He begins to give them a conversation that happened between him and God. A conversation that happened way before the pen touched the paper. And if you have ever read any of Paul's books in the Bible, it's very intriguing how he can talk about something and in the same breath, he can switch the conversation and switch it back again. If you don't believe me, look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13. He's talking about love, and in the same breath as he's talking about how powerful love is, he switches the conversation and says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I done as a child does, but now that I am a man, I put away childish things. And he switches right back to speaking about love. So Paul begins to speak to them. He begins to speak. He says, listen, whether or not I live or I die, Christ will be magnified. Paul says, I'm coming to the end of my ministry. I'm coming to the end. I have suffered so much. And now I've come to the conclusion, if I stay alive, Christ will always be magnified. But if I die, he will still be magnified. No matter what, God will always get the glory. He says to them, I am putting my trust in God no matter what. He says, I'm putting my trust in God because I've been in prison. I suffer so many things. And whether I die right at this moment or whether I live, Christ will always get the glory. Understand that this is his mindset. To always give Christ the glory, to always magnify Christ, no matter the situation. He tells them, in fact, listen, if those who come up against you are trying to debunk Christ, do not worry about it, because no matter what, he's being spoken about. So he says, Christ will be magnified in my body, whether in life or death. Watch this. He is stating to us that his trust in God, he trusts in God no matter the situation. He says no matter what, he will always get the glory. The second thing he says is so funny. He says this, he says, for me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. Many preachers focus on to die is gain, and they talk about heaven and how great heaven is. But I want to focus on for me to live is Christ. This statement holds so many different meanings. It has so many different messages in it. It said to live is Christ. I said, God, what does it mean? So I began to search. And I found this. It says that to live as Christ means that we proclaim the gospel of Christ, that we imitate the example of Christ, that we pursue the knowledge of Christ. We will give up everything that prevents us from Christ, from having Christ. That Christ is our focus, our goal, and our chief desire. Paul says, for me to live is Christ. He says, I'm not living for myself. I'm not living for myself. I'm living for Christ. But for me to die is so much more better. To die is gain on my behalf. Now Paul says, he says, hold on, he says, I'm betwixt. I'm stuck between two desires. He said, God, I want to die, but I want to live. Here it felt like just giving up. You're in the struggle of, do I stay in the marriage or do I just walk away? Do I keep the business up because the economy is down, or do I just cash it all in? Do I file for bankruptcy or do I trust in God? I am stuck. The King James Version says, I am betwixt, between the two. He said, I am hard pressed. I am hard pressed in giving up on my child who is running wild in the streets. But I love him so much. I love him so much. I got to keep on loving him. I got to keep on being a parent. I am betwixt. I am hard pressed. Part of me wants to stay. The other part wants me to go. I am stuck between doing the ministry, having my position in the church, but the members are getting out of control. I am hard pressed. And Paul is saying, I don't know what to do. Because for me to die is so much better. He says, I want to go. He says, I suffered enough. I've done so much. I have given more revelation than any apostle. I have built churches. I have revealed Christ and the Holy Spirit to those who didn't know. I went into the innermost parts of the cities, and I went to the uttermost parts of the world, and I went before kings, and I went before Caesar, and I did all of these things. I was blind. So many things happened. And I'm ready to go. We must understand that we cannot judge people who are betwixt, people who are stuck between two desires. We cannot judge people because understand what Paul is going through. See, we preach about all that he has talked about, and we give him a standing ovation for the revelation that he has given unto us, but no one really discussed the pain that he went through. No one really discussed all the things he suffered. No one really discussed all that he's been through. Being in prison 4 times. Being abandoned, all the things he has suffered. And just like you're going through some tough things. Now I understand that Paul has done his job to the uttermost. He has been faithful. He has kept his faith and trust in God. He has prayed earnestly. He has revealed God. He has forgiven. He has loved. He's done everything right. And he says to God, God, listen, I don't think I can do this no longer. I remember I told God that, and in fact, it was 2 years ago, I said, listen, I can serve you wholeheartedly. But this preaching I do, I just can't do because it's not coming out like I think it should come out. And as I was between the two desires, because some said you have to stay, the other says that I have to go. And I was warring with inside of myself. And as we see here that Paul is warring inside of himself, as we saw Christ warring inside of himself, as we see many great people in the Bible warring inside of themselves, because you are warring inside of yourself. And I said, well, I just can't do it. I can serve you, but I just can't do this part. And people encourage me to keep going on. And you have this desire just to walk away, and it feels so good to walk away. Look what he says. He says to die is gain. He says to die and to be with Christ is far better than anything in the world. To walk away and not have the headaches, not have the stresses, not have the things going on is far more better. It's far more better to just start a new project. It's far more better to find a new job. It's far more better to start a new book, start a new song. It's far better to pick up a different major in college. It's far more better to call for bankruptcy. It's far more better to throw my chips in. It's far more better. Why is it far more better? Because it is comfortable for me. I can wash my hands of it. But if I stay in, I'm going to be stressed out. If I keep on believing, I'm going to lose my sanity. If I keep on going, I don't know how this might turn out. So Paul begins to tell us that this is what I'm up against. And there's nothing wrong with feeling like you just want to walk away. There's nothing wrong because that's the nature side of you. And your nature is fighting against your spiritual nature, and they're warring. Because a way may seem right to a man, but the end thereof is death. God says, your way seems right. You know why it seems right? Because it's from your perspective. It's not from the person next to you. It's not from mine. Your way seems right, but the end thereof is death. Why? Because you're not seeing the overall picture of it. I'm not saying how you feel is wrong, because it's what you see. But in our reality, your end is death. Because in order to see the whole thing, you must see over. Now understand why Paul is having this issue. If you turn me to 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Verse 23 to 29. It says this. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. And labors more abundant. And stripes above measure, and in prison more frequently, and deaths often. From the Jews 5 times I received 40 stripes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. A night and a day I have been in the deep. and journeys often, and periods of waters, and periods of robbers, and periods of my own countrymen, and periods of the Gentiles, and periods in the city, and periods in the wilderness, and periods in the sea, and perils among the false brethren, and weariness and toil, and sleepless often, and hunger, and thirst, and fasting often, and cold and nakedness, besides the other things that comes upon me daily, my deep concern for all the churches. Who is weak and I am not weak? Who was made to stumble and I do not burn with indignations? Paul gives us a revelation. He says, look what I've been through. Paul died twice. If you read the book of Acts, he was stoned by the Corinthian church. He was stoned by the Thessalonians. When he walked through the city in Acts chapter 9, and the girl was following him, and he set her free, the Bible says that they took him into the Colosseum for all the people to kill him. Look what he says. He says, I died as they lowered him out of the city walls through the basket. He fell. The Bible says he died. He died, and he says, I don't know if it was in the physical or not, or spiritual. I heard things in heaven that could not be uttered or written down. He died. He says, I was beaten 5 times with stripes, 5 times with whips. I was shipwrecked. I was stoned. He says, I was robbed. I was denied by my own brethren. The Gentiles were against me. I suffered so much, and now I'm ready to go. He says, not only did I suffer those great things, but my daily life things I suffered. My concern for my churches that I created with God. My concern for those who are in the faith. My concern for the wolves dressed in sheep clothing. He said, I was so unwell. I suffered so much. He's relating to you because you suffered so much. So he says to the Philippian church, listen, I think my job is over. I think the job is done. I'm ready to go. I'm in jail for the 4th time. I'm just tired, man. Harry just felt so tired. Prayer wasn't wrong, work no more. Reading was where you was tired. You're ready to go. Can I tell you that Paul's not the only one who felt that way? No, he's not the only one that spoke to God in such a language as this. Let's look at Paul. Let's look at Moses. Moses told God, he says, listen, I know you're tired of Israel. I'm paraphrasing. I know you're tired of Israel. I know you're tired of it. But take my life instead that they might spare, that you might spare them. Again, he tells God, God, take my life. In Numbers, when he asked about the meat and God gave him quail, he says, take me. This is too much of a burden for me. 40 years in the wilderness with complaining, murmuring people. Moses felt as though the job was done. He felt as though he did all that he could possibly do. Do you not know that Moses allowed his job to consume to the point that when God told him to strike the rock, to speak to the rock, that he struck it twice? He was so tired. He was tired of the complaining and murmuring, to the point that Jethro's father-in-law had to tell him how to lead the people. He was tired. He felt as though he could not go no longer. Again, let's look at Elijah. He killed 400 people, 400 prophets of God. And the queen Jezebel says, I will not sleep until I kill him. And the dogs licked up his blood. And he feared for his life, and he ran unto her. 40 days he fasted. And he says, God, take my life. I'm ready to die. I can't take this no longer. I'm tired. Again, we see Joseph, who finds out that Mary is pregnant. And he says, listen, I don't know what's going on. And we all criticize Joseph. Oh, he should know this God. But if your girl, you about to marry, y'all teenagers, and you about to marry her, you know she virgin, and she come and tell you she pregnant by the Holy Spirit. Come on. I'll be like, you got to be kidding me. And we criticize Joseph. But if you're a man and your girl's a virgin, say she's pregnant, some questions got to be answered at this point in moment with me. How did you get pregnant? And he wants to walk away. The Bible says he wanted to divorce her publicly, privately, not to make her a public spectacle. So Paul said to the church, he says, to die with Christ, be with him is far more better. But it is needful that I stay in the flesh. It is needful for me to be alive. Even though I want to die, even though I want to leave this behind, I have to stay here. Watch, that's what he says. Let's look what he says to the church. He says, verse 23, for I am hard pressed between the two, having a desire to depart and be with Christ, which is far better. Nevertheless, to remain in the flesh is more needful for you. For me to be here, he made it so personal. He says, even though I want to give up and die and walk away and live life in peace, it is needful that I stay with you, Philippians. It is needful. Watch. Why is it needful, Paul? Explain to me why is it needful. In being confident of this, I know that I shall remain and continue with you all for your progress and your joy of faith. Paul says, I'm here. I got to see your progress. If I walk away and I ask God to take me away, how can I see your progress? How can I rejoice in your faith? Watch this. That your rejoicing for me may be more abundant in Jesus Christ by my coming to you again. Oh, hold on. Is Paul saying to Philippian church, even though I want to go, God says the job is not done. Why? Because you need to see me in the flesh. If you see me in the flesh, maybe your faith can't even increase even more that God is able. If I stay in the ministry and I keep on pushing on, I keep on going on, if I keep on going on, something's going to happen. If I keep trying to make this work, if I keep praying, if I keep believing, if I keep having faith, something is going to happen. God says to Paul, I know you're tired. I know you're struggling. I know you're going through some tough things. But my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. I need you here. I need you to keep on preaching. I need you to keep on loving. I need you to keep on forgiving. I need you to keep on walking towards your purpose. I know that you're tired. I know that you're tired. Moses, I know that you're tired. Moses, I know you're tired. And I know you allowed them to control your emotions and you struck their heart twice. And now you can't even enter the promised land. But Moses, I'm going to show you what you was working towards. I'm going to show you that all that you suffered was just not just to be suffering. And he takes Moses up on the mountain and says, Moses, look over. Look at how great the land is. Look at Jericho. Look at Moab. Look at the cities. Look at the land that is flowing. Elijah, I know you're afraid. So what I'm going to do, Elijah, is I'm going to take you with me. You want to die? I'm going to take you up to heaven with me. And if you read Zechariah 3, we see that Elijah and Enoch are in front of God like two olive trees planted. He says, Elijah, I'm going to have you before me, but I'm going to show you that what you're suffering is not in vain. I'm going to send you back down again in time. And I want you to preach unto them so great things. Tell them who I am. The Bible says that he will come down again in Revelations, and he will speak unto them and rain down fire from heaven and bring the word of God unto the nations again. Joseph, I know it's kind of weird to see your girl pregnant. I mean, it's funny. But I need you to protect Emmanuel. Watch, if you keep on believing, if you keep on going, the job is not done. I know it seems as if it's pointless, but at the end, you're going to see that it was all worth it. That it was worth the stress. It was worth the pain. And Paul is saying, Paul, they need to see you. The job is not done. If you walk away now, all that you built and all that you worked for and all that you believed in will be pointless. God says, I understand your pain. He says, I understand. But Paul, the Philippians need to see you, man. And he is so great. Paul is so great what he does. He lets them know what he's feeling. Because someone in that church was feeling the same way. And he wrote it down on paper because he knows there's one day that there will be someone who will be feeling the same way, hard pressed between the two desires, to give up or to continue. God is saying to you, the job is not done. It's not. I need you to keep on going on. We're close. Because the hotter it gets, the tougher it gets. It shows you that you are getting close and it's just around the corner. 5 things I want you to take away from this. 5 points. 5 points. Remember, it's okay to feel like something is too much. It's okay to feel that way. I feel that way. Everybody feels that way. It's not even a Christian thing, a religion thing. It's okay to feel that way. We are human beings. It's our nature. Now, there's a difference to feel something, and then there's a difference to mellow in something. Number 2, change your perspective on your situation. Remember that you are here, you are in this for a reason. Paul had to change his perspective. While he was speaking to God about leaving, God said, there's need for you. It's needful that you are here. Number 3, always speak to God or someone that you trust so that they can give you words of encouragement. Because at times you need to be encouraged to continue on. And number 4, remember that you are chosen for this task. Before that word ever was. Remember that you are a chosen vessel. Number 5, remember that your God is bigger than anything that you are facing. The job is not done. And Christ understood that. He understood that as he was in the Garden of Gethsemane and he was praying to God, saying, God, let this cup of suffering pass me by. And God said, son, the job is not done. Not my will, let thy will be done. Christ felt it. Paul felt it. Moses felt it. Elijah, David, Joseph, they all felt it. You got to continue on in faith. I know you're tired, but God says, trust me, all that labor, your reward is great. Christ died for us while we were yet sinners. Borders close back, we counseled with God. He rebuilt the bridge. As last week we talked about static in the wire, he rebuilt the wiring that we may talk to God what's working. Now he is the middleman. He loved you so much that he gave you part of himself to die for you. If you want to be part of this great family, we walk with you. But first we have to take the step of faith and pray a prayer. Say, Lord Jesus, I repent of my sins. I make you Lord of my life. I believe that you are the Messiah, that you are the only God of the Father, that you did die and you did rise with all power and might. I believe that through you that there is no other way to God. By your name I should be saved. That salvation comes to you, redemption comes to you. I make you Lord of my life. Create me a new heart and a new mind. In Jesus Christ's name. Amen. We walk into this great family. Now let's pray. Dear Father, we're all going through a betwixt period in our life where we just want to walk away. But Father, we must understand that the job is not done and that there's more to the story. There's more to what's going on. Father, allow us not to get wrapped up by our emotions and by the stress. Allow us to trust in you and allow us always to see the bigger picture.